We're looking at question 61 of the AP Statistics Midterm Review Packet, and we're told to use scenario 4-5. Before I even read that, though, I want to read what I'm looking for. And we're told which of the following best describes the inference the researcher can use based on the results. So I now know when I'm reading that prompt, I need to look for scope of inference. And that's the actual phrase from our notes, if you want to look up scope of inference, how that works. So let's go ahead and read it. In order to assess the effects of exercise on reducing cholesterol, a researcher took a random sample of 50 people who participate in a local gym and they exercise at a local gym regularly. So I do see this word random sample. So I do know I see random, a random sample of 50, and if I continue going, it says another random sample of 50, so another random sample of 50. So I see the word random again from the surrounding community who did not exercise regularly. They all reported to a clinic to have their cholesterol levels taken. The subjects were unaware of the purpose of the study, and the technician measuring the cholesterol was not aware of whether or not the person exercised regularly or not. So what is this inference? I'm going to actually focus on what we know. Here is the outline of what's going on. This is our scope of inference. So we have to figure out, were they randomly selected, were they randomly assigned? Now, the way we kind of learned this was randomly selected is if you're kind of dealing with taking a sample. So if I'm taking a sample, if I'm doing a sampling process, usually I'm randomly selecting. Usually if I'm randomly assigning, that's dealing with an experiment. So that's kind of where I'm focusing on here. And if I look and I go back to the prompt, it says that they did a simple random sample, or actually, sorry, it said a random sample of 50. So I have a random sample of 50. So were they randomly selected? Yes, they were. They were randomly selected. So that means I do not need to look at anything down here. They were randomly selected, so I know I can make inference on the population. That's good news. So that can help me out. I can make inference on the population, so I need to make sure I can read my prompt and go, who is the population that I'm dealing with? Next, I have to ask myself, okay, were they randomly assigned? So now I go back to this and I go, okay, were they randomly assigned? And if I look at the prompt, they weren't randomly assigned. They were just randomly selected. So I do not think that they were randomly assigned. Were they randomly assigned? No, they were not. They were not randomly assigned, which means this is not where I'm looking. So I'm going to go ahead and say, here's the deal. I think we can make inference on the population. I then have to go back and look at what my population is. But I do not think we can do cause and effect because they were not randomly assigned. That's what's going on. So now I'm going to have to go back through and read these. And so one thing to keep it in mind is, by the way, choice E, there's not enough information to make judgment based off the scope of inference. I don't think that's right. I just proved it based off of the table. We can see here there is enough information. He cannot make inferences about cause and effect of the population from the samples are taken. That's interesting. He can make inference about both cause and effect. So he can do cause and effect. No, cause and effect is if they are randomly assigned. Look at this, cause and effect, if they're randomly assigned. So I don't think it's going to be C. He can make inferences about the population, that sounds good, but not cause and effect. He can make inferences about cause and effect. Again, I don't like it. That talks that we can do cause and effect. In this case, I don't think we can. We showed that in the table. The answer here, by the way, is B. Now, I want to kind of draw attention to something here. Notice that he cannot make inferences about either cause and effect or the population. So D, if you stopped, he cannot make inference about cause and effect. If you stop there, you might choose D. But it says either cause and effect or population. That would be right down here. That would be they did not randomly select and they did not randomly sample. So if you read part of the answer and just let your brain kind of zone out there, you might think the answer is D, when really the answer is B. We had the fact that they were randomly selected. So again, we knew they were randomly selected, so we're up here. They were not randomly assigned. So then we're right here, and that's where they intersect. So that is our answer to question 61, the idea of scope of inference. A good way to review what can we conclude from random selection and what can we conclude from random assignment.